Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day number 5 of our Grand World Race Battle Tournament, where 32 teams from all around the world come together to see who can come out on top. For our first round, it is the Netherlands versus Switzerland. And the race has begun. The Netherlands take a quick early lead, but now it's back to neck and neck. Netherlands had the inside lane that seems to have helped them. They're the first ones through the jump, smooth landing, and they cross the finish line first. Both of them spin out like mad after going over the finish line. But the Netherlands finished with a 6.0699. Right now the fastest time is held by India, who at one point finished with a 5.6653. And now with that finish, that means that Switzerland will have to finish faster than this in order to move on to today's next round. Let's see how they do now that they've switched lanes. Switzerland takes a slightly bigger lead this time, and they have the inside lane this time around. They will be the first one through the jump, smooth landing on both accounts, but the Netherlands managed to start swerving, which certainly didn't help matters. Did Switzerland finish faster? They did! Not by much, but even the smallest margin can still mean victory. And they both bounced a little bit upon landing on the ground, but it looked like Switzerland was able to maintain more of their speed after landing. Switzerland will be the one to move on. Now we have South Africa versus the USA. Right now, South Africa is one of the 8 remaining teams that still has all 4 racers participating in this tournament. The USA is down to 3. Oh, but look at this, the US seemed to have a lead for just a moment, but they ended up flipping onto their backs and not finishing. That is far less than ideal. Now the US will have to finish faster than 6.1817 in order to move on. Let's take a look at this jump again. It's entirely possible, it's hard to tell from this angle, but South Africa might have actually gotten underneath them, causing the US to flip over and lose control. So now the US, I'm sure not too thrilled with how that went down. But now they're back out in the lead and they have the inside lane. Can they maintain it this time? They're at least not going to collide with each other. US maintaining control after a good landing, going vertical after crossing the finish line. And their finishing time was 5.8591. They did end up finishing faster than South Africa, which will mean that now we are down to 7 teams who have 4 racers still in it. That was a great revenge run by the USA. A little bit of a rough finish after crossing the line, but still. Up next is Thailand versus Singapore. Both of these racers have 3 racers left. They're remaining about neck and neck, but now there's a bit more of a difference as the lanes turn. And one of them spins out, the other manages to finish despite bouncing off the walls at least a couple of times, with a not too pleasant time of 6.5372. Let's take a look at the jumps again. They were bouncing a little bit, but they managed to keep themselves going with most of their speed at the very least. Now it is up to Thailand to finish faster than Singapore here. If Singapore can finish faster than 6.53, they might be able to pull something off here. They do have the lead currently and the inside lane. They're the first one through the jump by a long shot. Smooth landing, but they start to skid, losing a lot of speed as they get closer to the finish line. Is it going to be enough? I believe it still is, despite that rough exit. Let's see how they landed. They did start to rotate ever so slightly, and I think that's what did them in. Their right side hit the ground first, causing them to rotate. But because of their faster finish, Singapore is moving on. Now for our final preliminary group, Colombia versus China. Colombia starts off with the lead. China trying to make up that ground. Colombia the first one through the turn and now approaching the jump. Their back end shakes up and down a little bit, but they actually went over the safety padding. I wonder how that's going to look on film. But they finished with a pretty good 5.8597. I believe India still holds on to the fast time right now with their 5.6653. But a 5.85 is still pretty good. But now China has to finish quicker than that if they want to stay alive here. But remember, just because a racer is knocked out doesn't mean the entire team is. Each racing team still has a few chances. China trying to make something happen here. Is it going to be enough, though? We'll have to look at the time. It's not enough. 6.0048. A very decent effort to be sure. But I believe they will still be losing another racer here. After a few racing days, only 8 teams had 4 racers left, and now it's down to 7. Colombia is still going to move on, and now it comes down to this. 2 pairings, 2 people moving on. Let's see how it goes. Now the USA is going up against Switzerland. The USA already starting off with the lead by about a length or 2, and that lead is expanding. They have the inside lane, so their lead is even bigger now, but they do rotate like mad as they get on back to the track. Or as they get back on the track, you know what I mean. Finishing 6.0534, that is less than ideal, but look at this. The moment they leave the jump, they start rotating onto their side, and that caused them to lose control, spinning out. They actually were grinding on the rail for a second. They still managed to get the win, though, so that puts them in a slightly better position. Switzerland in the hot seat now. They have to finish better than 6.05 and finish in front of the US. But the US is currently in the lead, and about the same thing happens, and they skid sideways completely. But I think that might have been intentional, because they blocked Switzerland from passing them, causing the time to be much slower, with 6s almost all the way across the board. Look at this, the same thing. History repeated itself. They started grinding on the rail, except they stopped completely this time, causing Switzerland to bump into them, and they both started going a lot slower. So the USA is going to move on now. It's just a matter of whether or not Colombia or Singapore will be joining them. Colombia starts off with the lead, and their lead is already a decent size. They start with the inside lane. Colombia making the jump, and they are going to finish in first once again with a wacky finish, going over the safety padding. 5.9082, that's not bad. So that definitely puts some pressure on their competition. A little bit of a rough landing, but not the worst we've ever seen either. They almost hit the cameraman, unfortunately. But now Singapore has to finish faster than 5.90. So far, they did have the lead at least for a moment. Can they get it back with the inside lane? They actually don't. Colombia back out in the lead, and they finish in first again, so that automatically means they are moving on. Singapore has lost another racer. 6.1816. Forwards and backwards written the same way. Take a look at this jump. A similar occurrence to the US, but they managed to keep all 4 wheels on the ground instead of going over the side. Finishing completely sideways and jumping up like Mario for a moment there. But there you have it. It is the US and Colombia adding one of their racers to the next part of the tournament. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time.